Classic sitcoms like The Office, Parks and Recreation, and Two and a Half Men. Plus, catch Peacock original comedies like AP Bio and Saved by the Bell. For all your exclusive comedy faves, go to peacocktv.com and get started.
First time I read Emma Goldman wasn't in a book. I was 16, hiking near the Nevada border. The quote was painted on a wall in red. When I saw those words, it was like someone ripped them from the inside of my head.
Anarchism stands for liberation of the human mind from the dominion of religion. Liberation of the human body from the dominion of property. Liberation from shackles and the restraint of government. It stands for social order, based on the free grouping of individuals.
The concept was pure, simple, true. It inspired me, lit a rebellious fire. But ultimately, I learned the lesson that Goldman, Proudhon, and the others learned. That true freedom requires sacrifice and pain. Most human beings only think they want freedom. In truth, they yearn for the bondage of social order, rigid laws, materialism. The only freedom man really wants is the freedom to be comfortable.
Need one to vote? Come on. It's ridiculous. In fact, it's worse than ridiculous. It is sinister. Anyone who opposes voter ID laws is encouraging voter fraud, which is to say, encouraging the destruction of democracy. It's that simple. And you can now put Major League Baseball in that category. Now, baseball was supposed to be America's pastime. Happy, unifying, fundamentally non-political. So it's strange to see this happen. How do we get here? It's not at all complicated. We have a new president now, and that president is willing to destroy even something as wholesome as the country's traditional game purely to increase the power of his political party. Just the other day, Joe Biden went on ESPN to demand that professional sports franchises boycott any state whose voters step out of line.
I think today's professional athletes are acting incredibly responsibly. I would strongly support them doing that. People look to them. They're leaders. Look at what's happened with the NBA as well. Look at what's happened across the board. The very people who are victimized the most are the people who are the leaders in these various sports. And it's just not right. This is Jim Crow on steroids, what they're doing in Georgia and 40 other states.
So that's the considered judgment expressed out loud by the President of the United States. Georgia's voter ID law is Jim Crow on steroids. Asking people to show their identity before they vote is worse than segregation and lynching. It's Bull Connor and fire hoses and snarling German shepherds on steroids. You got to wonder how long our leaders can keep saying things like this, reckless things like this, before they really cause the society to fall apart. Joe Biden seems determined to find out. One thing Biden doesn't seem very interested in is his own home state, Delaware. Unlike Georgia, Delaware has never permitted mass early voting. Apparently, Delaware is a white supremacist state. About 80% of Georgia voters cast their ballots early last fall. In Delaware, that number was 29%. So why isn't that voter suppression? Why isn't it racism? Well, because Delaware is a one-party state controlled by the Democrats. It's working for them. They're not going to change it. Georgia, by contrast, is a swing state. So, in the estimation of Joe Biden, it is worth using racially divisive lies to win it for his party permanently. According to Joe Biden, the real problem with Georgia's new election law is that it could cause dangerous dehydration.
What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. It's sick. Deciding in some states that you cannot bring water to people standing in line, waiting to vote, deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work?
Every word of that was false. Maybe the Washington Post will start a Joe Biden lie meter. Just kidding. In fact, the Georgia law bans political organizations from bringing gifts to people who are standing in line to vote. That's called electioneering. It is banned in an awful lot of places, probably where you live. But there is no prohibition in Georgia or anywhere else against people getting water and food in line if it comes from someone other than a political operative. If it comes from a friend or family member, for example. And by the way, they can also bring their own water. Hydrating is still legal in Georgia. As for the claim that this law will end voting at 5 o'clock, that's a lie, too. Wait a second. Joe Biden just said that on TV, so where did he get the idea voting ends at 5 o'clock? Well, it turns out that the big paper in Atlanta, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, reported that the law would ban voting after 5 o'clock. The paper's reporters apparently hadn't read the law. They had to append this correction to their piece, which effectively was the same as admitting they were repeating talking points without doing any research, which is what they were doing. Here it is, quote, "A previous version of this story said the new law would limit voting hours. On Election Day in Georgia, polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and if you're in line by 7 p.m., you are allowed to cast your ballot. Nothing in the new law changes those rules," end quote. That's the truth, finally appended to a lie. Now, Joe Biden got his research on that bill from reporters who did no research. See how that works? Today at the White House press briefing, one reporter did ask an interesting question. Why is Joe Biden on television demanding a boycott of an American state while not demanding a boycott of China? After all, the Biden administration just declared that China was committing genocide against ethnic minorities. Well, Joe Biden's grumpy little flack wasn't happy about that question.
The president had voiced his support for MLB making a decision about the All-Star game in Georgia. I'm wondering, when can we expect a final determination from the president about the United States participating in the Beijing Olympics, given that he said the Chinese president doesn't have a democratic bone in his body?
Well, I think the U.S. Olympic Committee would play a big role in
on Major League Baseball here in the United States.
He actually didn't. I don't know if you heard the answer that happened a few minutes ago, where we addressed this, and I answered the question. So, and I give a little more context, but maybe you weren't paying attention to that part.
I'm not going to answer the question, so I'm going to pretend that I already did and you didn't hear it because you're dumb. It's your fault. Look, there's no answer. No one at the White House explained why a law against voter fraud in Georgia justifies a boycott, but a genocide in China does not. Doesn't matter. The domestic boycott against Georgia grows anyway. Huge parts of corporate America have joined it. They've decided that Georgia is reinstating Jim Crow. Here's a great one. Coca-Cola, which is based in Atlanta, now tells us that Georgia's anti-voter fraud law is unacceptable.
Let me be crystal clear and unequivocal. This legislation is unacceptable. It is a step backwards, and it does not promote principles we have stood for in Georgia around broad access to voting, around voter convenience, about ensuring election integrity. And this is frankly just a step backwards.
Not clear how.
Now, did you notice? Hold on a minute there, partner. Did you notice there's a bunch of this crap? Now, first, in my opinion, and I have a lot of them, and I've got a lot more of it to where I need to. But here's something that, I don't know, it just kind of irks the shit out of me. All right, so Major League Baseball is moving out of Atlanta, Georgia to Colorado. So what? So what? Okay, I know there's going to be a lot of people out of work. What are they going to do at that stadium? I got an idea. Build another NASCAR track in there. Maybe a short track. A hell of a lot more people would go to that than they would to a baseball game. And what kind of restrictions are they going to put on that? On NASCAR? Are they going to kill NASCAR? they've already injured, or NASCAR fell to the political traps and the woke. What the hell kind of word is that, woke? Why don't they just say woke up? Why shorten it? It makes absolutely no sense of what is going on out there. And it's always race directed. It's racist to do this. It's racist to do that. It's racist to do this. You know, I can remember back when I was a kid, little wolf pup. When I would sit in the back of the classroom with all the other country people that we had there in this classroom, and people would call us rednecks. Now, at first, I was a little bit perturbed. Why call a person who has a blistered neck, who works out in the fields farming and probably got that burn from being on a tractor without a cab, which is required now? You can't drive a tractor out there without a bonnet or something over the top of your head. No, OSHA says no. That's to keep or prevent melanoma. Really? You know how many hours that I have spent on a tractor out in the middle of nowhere, out there farming or plowing, or disking or harrowing or doing bale work, or baling hay? I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. But nobody in the redneck community said, well, that's racist. You can't call us that. We kind of celebrated it. Jeff Foxworthy and quite a few others said, hey, being a redneck's not a bad idea. We'll use that. Here come Larry the Cable Guy. Get her done. He was he proclaimed he was a redneck. Really? When was the last time you saw a Larry the Cable Guy stand-up performance? Why? Because a lot of people have said a lot of his stuff is too racist. It pigeonholes too many people. Bullshit. It's kind of like there is no justification for all this. There really isn't. Everybody is running around like a bunch of chickens with their head cut off because nobody is in charge. I don't even give a rat's ass if you say, well, we have President Biden. Bullshit. That fucker isn't even nowhere close to being in charge. He really isn't. He is not in charge. Nobody is back there. The only person that's even remotely close, and I say this with all the what can you say? Subtlety or, kindness that I can. But, come on. You can't pigeonhole everything and everyone. It's kind of like now, somebody couldn't get on like what we used to have as far as overnight trucker radio. You couldn't get on there now and say, well, he's just a freight hauler. Or, darn it, he's hauling gas, so he's a little dizzy. Or this, that, or the other. You can't do that anymore. You've got to watch what you say, except for here. And people wonder what the hell's wrong with radio? It's because there's too damn many restrictions. Now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be laws. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some decency laws or monitoring or whatever you want to call it. But hell, it's just like a few minutes ago, I got on Facebook trying to post some ads on there for us to get some more people in these studios. Keep it going 24/7. Here lately, that's kind of a job. I'm serious. I have not been able to do that. I do not have any kind of, what do you want to call it? I don't have any, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but I don't have any time off anymore. Now, let me explain something to y'all that you might be able to get a hold of before you wake up and eat your cereal. When I tried to place that ad up on Facebook to get some new people, they said that I could not put that on there and it would go to anybody 22 years old and younger. But the damn thing didn't have a damn edit button so that I could go back and put in there 25 and older. No, can't do that. You know, they're not going to let you do something. For hell's sake, at least give you a method to be able to go back and re-edit the son of a bitch. Anymore, Facebook is becoming somewhat, it gets there and it costs me money, but anymore it's becoming a waste of my time. I have to bust my ass every single day in here to keep you happy, which isn't a bad thing. So here we are. Days I wish we had a teleprompter or at least a printer. Then I could write scripts. Likewise, have a staff that could write alternate scripts. But no. So I'm thinking write something out, upload it on OneDrive, which is kind of a complicated process, and put it on another computer so I can read my ratchet jawing as well as say it verbatim. So, been watching and rewatching and then watching more, and I'm getting to something on this, of the old Med series House MD. Could you imagine some of the dialogue that was on there and some of the things that they were doing being done today with this cancel culture, with the woke culture? Come on. You couldn't get it past the damn censors. They'd say, no, you can't say that. Bullshit. The real burn on that series, of course, though, is when Dr. Cameron, a.k.a. Jennifer Morrison, who made that series popular. Not saying Olivia Wilde was a throw-up, but she just didn't carry that series like Jennifer did. Now, rumor has it that Jennifer did have a off-screen hookup and marriage with Jesse Spencer, otherwise known as Dr. Chase, who these days can be seen as a firefighter on the series Chicago Fire. When Jennifer and Jesse broke up, they also broke up on the series as well. But this is looking great, and it's fun to binge watch. Gives me ideas for air copy and modulating things. Is just, well, I don't feel modulating on air lately, which is killing ratings and income. But I'm working to cure my radio air block. Life here is much better, but I'm getting the itch to do a look-see at other pastures. The thing that broke our back was that CenturyLink Lumen thing that is still not solved. When they send you a bill for $2,500 for 50 up and 50 down, that's a little bit expensive, don't you think? Especially when they sent you one that says, no good. That just, I'm sorry. It just does not work.
Just to restate, just because you run a soft drink company doesn't mean you get to control our democracy. You may not know that. It's a step backward, he told us, which is pretty funny if you think about it. So Coca-Cola is very, very concerned about black people, which makes you wonder, since we're on the subject, how many black people have died in the last 100 years from diabetes caused by Coca-Cola products? We don't have those numbers. Someone ought to find out. We bet money it's far more than the Minneapolis Police Department has killed ever. And here's the even funnier part. China is one of Coca-Cola's biggest markets. And that's why last year, Kurt Ferguson, who's the president of Coca-Cola Greater China and Korea, went out of his way to praise the Communist Party of China for unleashing the coronavirus on the world. This is a verbatim quote. "Thank you very much to the government with your quick, decisive actions. Once again, thank you. You've really controlled a worldwide epidemic and should be very much congratulated for all your hard work. May I kiss your feet? May I slobber on you? Have a Coke and a smile?" Unbelievable. But Coca-Cola wants you to believe that whatever's happening in China, it really cares most about its type 2 diabetes victims here in the United States. Coca-Cola hates discrimination. Okay. So why isn't Coca-Cola saying anything about Phil Scott? He's the governor of Vermont. He's a Republican, by the way. This week, Governor Scott declared that Vermont would be passing out vaccines on the basis of skin color. Vermont wants to check your racial purity before they give you life-saving medicine. Well, that doesn't seem like a good idea, or legal, or ethical, or something that would ever happen in America. Is Coca-Cola okay with that? Apparently they are. You can still get a Diet Coke at Lunig's in Burlington. Great restaurant, by the way. Coke hasn't said a word about it. And neither has Delta, which, despite being an airline and not a super PAC, has also decided to condemn Georgia's elections bill. According to the CEO of Delta, people in the black community are upset about the law, so of course Delta is very upset too.
This is about protecting the voices of our people. When I speak to our people, particularly within the black community, we're here in Atlanta, we've got a very, very large black employee base. Almost universally, they are hurt by the law and the legislation that was enacted, and we need to make certain their voices are heard. We spent a lot of time in the last year reaching out to those most vulnerable and telling them that we hear them, that we see them, that their voices matter. And if we can't stand with them now, when will we?
Yeah. So he's just reading something the HR department wrote for him, but it doesn't seem like he's paused to think through the implications here. So Delta Airlines operates because U.S. taxpayers and the Congress, lawmakers, our democracy, allowed Delta to. You can't just start an airline and run it. You need the cooperation of the public. But part of the deal is if you're Delta Airlines or some other big company benefiting from all the good things that America offers is you're not allowed to override the democracy just because you're rich. You're not allowed to do that. And if you do, maybe we should punish you. Maybe we should. Delta says its, quote, very large black employee base is almost universally hurt by the law. Really? Did you take a poll, Delta? Remarkably, and this is amazing, that's not what Delta was saying about the very same law a few days ago before the Biden administration leaned on them. At the time, Delta issued a statement declaring, quote, the legislation improved considerably during the legislative process and expands weekend voting, codifies Sunday voting, and protects a voter's ability to cast an absentee ballot without offering a reason. Delta even at the time praised the law's protections for ballot drop boxes. Quote, for the first time, drop boxes have also been authorized for all counties statewide, and poll workers will be allowed to work across county lines. Okay, before we even get into how they changed their view, again, this is an airline. Why are they weighing in on a voting law? Who do you think you are, Delta Airlines? We should shut you down. Now Delta's decided the law doesn't meet its standards. Requiring voter identification, says Delta, is Jim Crow. But wait a minute, you might be wondering, doesn't Delta Airlines require photo ID in order to board its planes? Ooh, that sounds like Jim Crow. Why isn't that racist? Because it's not. Shut up. One of the Democratic Party's top election law enforcers, a trollish man called Mark Elias.
Now, hold on just a minute.
Quote, the new
I kind of wanted to know, maybe you did too, I don't know, perhaps. Who the hell is this Jim Crow guy? I never ever heard about it. And hell, I'm from the South. So let's try to just dig into this. Crow laws were state and local laws that enforced racial segregation in the southern United States. These laws were enacted in the late 19th and early 20th century by white Southern Democratic nominated state legislatures to disenfranchise and remove political and economic gains made by black people during the Reconstruction period of the South. It tells what he did. It does not say who he is. Why? If you're going to jump at somebody, why not let's talk about the guy who it is? I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with this. I don't know. So, what is it? And for that matter, who cared? Right? Why go back to former policies? Why bring up the racial thing again? I don't believe it. Just because a black guy drinks a Coca-Cola or doesn't, what the hell has that got to do with it? I ain't quite figured out the racial angle on this yet. I really haven't. What I'm hearing is somebody, I don't know who spanked who, and I'm sure that will come out somewhat later on. But who the hell, I mean seriously, who the hell decided somewhere about this Major League Baseball thing? What the hell are they scared of? As far as, and I can remember back when talking about Delta Airlines. Now, this is something that hasn't been brought up yet. Although I'm sure somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to. Okay? But I remember a period of time when there was some sort of statement made by some executive of Delta Airlines in Utah against the Mormon Church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There was some backlash and pushback. Afterwards, they sold it back, the Delta Center, back to another company, a communications company, led by Larry H. Miller, God bless his soul. But I still scratch my head. They left, they stopped that too. Now, what are we supposed to do with that? Does that mean that if somebody goes up there, and does that mean that we have to put our religion on an ID? I'm serious. Do we actually have to put that now on something? And if we do, does that stop us from getting on a Delta airline flight? I'm sorry, I don't do that because I fly myself. I'm a pilot. But still, the fact of the matter is, what is all this shit? I'm saying, good hell, America, grow a pair. If you don't like Biden, kick his ass the fuck out of there. Same way with Pelosi and all these other assholes. Throw his damn kid into the clink if he actually did something, or get off the damn subject. Let's get back to basics here. Let's get our kids back in school, because for God's sake we need to. There are kids out there that are so goddamn ass stupid that they can't think for themselves. Let me give you an example of that. A little while ago, I pulled up to the McDonald's over here on Blue Lakes. And there was a gal in there who was a little bit plump. Not that that had anything to do with it. I'm just saying, give you a description. But here's this young gal who's a little bit plump. She's sitting back there. And for some reason, she could not figure out that out of a $10 bill, and the bill came, and the order came to $6, that there was $4 and some odd cents due back. Really? Our kids can't count back change. They can't think. She actually had to get a damn calculator on her damn phone and look the son of a bitch up and figure it out that way. Which I guess is okay. I did that up at a gas station for a while. But you got to look at the bill. What's the number? $10. Okay. You take 6 from 10, there's 4. This is not rocket science, people. But our kids can't figure out things like this. When I get people in here to interview, one of the things that turns me the hell off too is these young people, the only thing that they're doing is looking at their cell phones. Now, there's all this barking about all the people that are coming in over the border in the South. And I've looked at the conditions down there, and they are really atrocious. We are punishing people who come up here to do the work that our own children, our own young people in this country will not do. Whether it's sewing in a factory or picking lettuce out of a field, it doesn't matter. You cannot get our youth to put their cell phones down, get away from the computer, get off Facebook and Twitter and all these other social things and get into a field, literally get into the field and work. So what? They have to sweat a little bit. It's not air conditioned out there. Oh no, it's air conditioned. I gotta walk around in the dirt. Really? How much money are you making sitting there messing with that computer? And then you piss and moan you ain't got no money. Really? Work. Not, it should not, we ought to start that. How about starting up instead of the woke condition? How about we start something called work movement? Get people to work. I don't give a rat's ass if it's turning a wrench. I don't give a rat's ass if it's going out here and actually going out and sweating and having to work in a field. But let's get our kids back to work. Let's get them in the kitchens making food. So what? Yeah, it's hot back there. Yeah, it's hard work. Excuse me, nobody died from hard work. The reason our kids get tuckered is real simple. It really is. Because they're not conditioned to sweat. It's kind of like when people get all these diseases, even this COVID thing. The reason our bodies are not making antibodies and fighting off these diseases and viruses is because we've had our kids so antisepticized and living so clean that their bodies are too pure. Our bodies do not know how to fight off disease or sickness. So what happens? You go to the doctor. The doctor sends you to the drugstore. You buy all kinds of crap. Some of the medicines that's supposed to relieve one condition will kill you. There's always a warning label. Do not take this if this damn thing's got ingredients that makes you sick. Well, what the fuck? You take one thing to relieve a problem, and then you gotta take more something to relieve the one that that one drug didn't fix. It's kind of like this new thing, this Balance of Nature product that I hear over there. The company is based out of Salt Lake. I still want to know who that little girl that gets on there and says, "Enter the code at the bottom, Fox News." I'd like to see what the hell she really looks like. Try looking it up. You can't find it. Something more on that here in a minute. But you look at this and you're going, good hell. If you need fruits and vegetables, for hell's sake, go eat them. Eat some, cut up a few tomatoes and put a little salt on them and stuff them in your mouth. Have a salad. Have some turnip greens. Eat some okra. Eat raw potatoes. Those things are pretty damn tasty out in the middle of the field if you're busting your ass. Get out your pocket knife, cut the damn thing off, slice it up a little, and get out your little salt and pepper shaker, and hell, you got lunch right there. It's growing. It's natural. But they always get out there, well, this stuff's got all these perfect chemicals in it. Well, hell yeah, it's got perfect chemicals in it. I don't need somebody to make me take a damn capsule, a plastic capsule, to give me nutrition. Shit, go out and eat the damn thing. Don't that make sense? Go eat it. What the hell do I need to sit there and throw a damn pill in me? Because everybody's too damn lazy. They can't go out and sit down and actually prepare a salad by themselves or make a damn sandwich or do this or do that. I'm thinking, good hell, man. Pull your heads out of your asses, people. It doesn't have to be this way. And then they start talking about all the narcotics coming over from the south, or coming over the southern borders. You know, I can tell you damn well that if the Confederacy was in charge, that shit would not happen. That's all there is to it. That shit would not happen. The reason is the Confederacy and our southern people believed in going out and doing a hard day's work for an honest day's pay. But you can't convince the people today. No, we can't do that. So what the hell is all this shit? You turn on Fox News, you turn on Newsmax, right? You sit there and listen to the shit all day. Fox News just repeats every damn thing that they've reported all day. There's nothing new up there. And when was the last time that they even brought up the Confederacy? Have you ever wondered about that one? They don't bring up the Confederacy. They don't say anything about that. No, can't do that shit. Why? I'm serious. Why? I'd kiss some of those little girls' ass. It makes you wonder. I always wonder about that because you always see every single one of them with their lipstick, and it's super thick. I was looking at this thing of Cat on Gutfeld this morning, and I thought, really? Come on. Really? She was so made up that it wasn't even funny. Now, naturally, she's a beautiful woman. There is not a red-blooded American male that actually has two balls that actually function that wouldn't go out with her or be honored to snuggle up to her somewhere. Not even. You see where I'm going with this? There is just so much of all these weird ass things that you think, why? And I'll tell you part of the reason is why. And I got a couple of things that came in over the weekend that I actually had to stop and think. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a church, a.k.a. the Mormons. I got into that pretty much by birth. It was something that Mom, who was, Dad wasn't, but still, Mom encouraged me to go. So I went to primary. I went through all the stuff, did the Articles of Faith, got the baptism at 8 years old, everything that I was supposed to do. Back then, I could actually give talks. You know the last time that I was asked to give a talk at any church meeting? None. I'm serious. I was never allowed to say a damn thing. Why? Why can't I say or be asked to address the church, the members thereof? Oh, I can go up for testimony meeting. Can't do anything else. Why? Because one guy said, well, it's because you wear a hoodie that has a motorcycle club patch on the back. And I thought, really? You're gonna piss and moan that I'm actually wearing my bike colors? Now, here's where this gets to me. If the Lord Jesus Christ, our Savior, walked in there in his very humble rags, sackcloth or whatever it was, and his sandals, and his beard, and his long hair. Would he be allowed in? Hold on a minute. Listen to this and tell me what you think.
You know, I worked a big package show in Fort Worth Saturday night. Had all day to rest and relax before I caught my next flight. So I decided to walk downtown, get myself a little fresh air. Before long, I found myself in front of a big church on the corner of the square. Boy, I could hear that singing out there in the street. Sure was a beautiful sound. So I just walked up the steps and opened the door and started to go in and sit down. But before I could, a young man came up to me and said, "Excuse me, sir, but I can't let you come in with that big black hat and those jeans and that beard, that long hair." Well, I thought about that a minute, and I just left and went outside. Sat down on the curb. And I thought to myself, that's the house of the Lord. And that guy's got a hell of a nerve telling me I can't worship anywhere I please. So right there in front of that church, I just knelt down on my knees. And I said, "Lord, now I know I don't look like much, but I didn't think you'd mind. I just wanted to be with your people, Lord, because, well, it's been a long time." You know, a while ago I saw an old wino over there in the alley. He was all bent over in tears. And I thought how one stained glass window from that church could have fed his family for years. Then there's all those fine cars parked out front, Lord. More than I can count. Made me think how people used to walk for days to hear your sermon on the Mount. Then there's all those fine ladies in the choir, Lord, singing like they really love it. Hell, last night they was on the front row of my show, dancing and drinking beer, and hollering, "Sing, shove it." You know, even John the Baptist I don't think would be welcome in this place. With his coat made of camel hair and sandals on his feet and a long beard on his face. You know, Lord, when you come back to get your children and take them to live beyond the clouds, well, I'll tell you something. I'd sure hate to be in that crowd. Now, Lord, I ain't perfect. Some people even say I'm no count. But I always believed a man's judged by what's in his heart and not what's in his bank account. So, you know, if that's what religion is, a big car and a suit and a tie, well, I might as well forget it, Lord. Because I can't qualify. By the way, Lord, just before they threw me out of that church over there, didn't I see a picture of you with sandals and a beard? Yes, Jesus, I believe you had long hair too. Well, This is Paycheck signing off.
Now consider this.
I'll be seeing you, Lord. I hope.
Now, I'm serious. Now, think about that for just a minute. What would happen if the Lord actually went into the church? It's exactly what I was describing. Because I don't drive the newest car or truck. I ride a Harley to church. Should that make a difference? I don't think so. Should it matter that I have long hair? That I have jeans? That I dress humbly? Instead of in there trying to do a fashion show on Sunday? Is that wrong? I don't think so. Now, there may be some people out there that might be saying, well, shut the hell up. We've heard this shit before. Yeah, you have. I can remember at one ward down in Springville, Utah, once upon a time. My wife, Janice, and I went into church because I was trying to get her back to going. And she wore one of her little mini skirts because that was all that she had clean. So we walked in, we sat down, we went through the services. And some jackass who was part of the elders' quorum said, well, you know, your wife ought to dress a little bit more modestly. Okay, fine. So we went back the next week. Sure did. You know what we found? There was a gal that walked in there, I swear. I swear to death. She walked in and she had a mini skirt that was so short. You could see her bush and her ass because she wasn't even wearing any panties. Not one word was said to the lady. Why was Janice? Because she was connected to me. Because I don't believe in the suit and tie. But they sure in the fuck do. Does this mean that we're not supposed to have a certain amount of I don't know what,